Hello guys, I'm John, I'm the Geeky Fanboy. First off, apologies again if my voice sounds a bit weird, I'm sick again, so yeah, apologies for my weird voice and for the coughing, but that's not supposed to keep us back from reviewing the newest episode of Mr. Robot Season 4. We're at episode 10, the big episode of the hack, and I like what they're doing with this episode. So as always, first couple of minutes I'm gonna give you a spoiler-free overview, and I'm gonna give you a warning before I jump into details for the episode. So let's go. So obviously, compared to last week's episode, this episode is a bit more laid back. It's a lot more quiet. It is a bit different in regards to what characters we're following in this episode. So primarily we are following Dom and Darlene as they are making their plans now after the whole hacking thing and redistribution of wealth has happened. So we're finding out how they are dealing with not necessarily the consequences, but you know, the aftermath of the hack, how they are viewing themselves now that basically their big plan is completed, and that they, even though they might still be in danger since the Dark Army might still be around. So we're primarily focusing on their relationship, but also them individually as to what they want and what they're going to do next. And I think especially for those people who like character-centered episodes, this is going to be a very, very good episode. And I'm also thinking that this is while not a very thrilling episode, it is still very nice and pleasant to watch. And I'm saying this as someone who usually prefers the more plot-heavy episodes, but you know, these two women are such interesting characters, and I'm really into their friendship and their relationship. I like what they're doing there, and by the end of the episode, I was surprised that I noticed, oh, we haven't really seen anything of Elliot in this episode at all, and there wasn't really a problem. Like, usually this is a bit of a difficult thing for me when we're not following Elliot, because he's my favourite character and he's the most interesting person in the show. But, you know, that wasn't a problem in this episode, because these two women are interesting enough on their own, and I think you're gonna have a good time watching this, because it makes you think about, okay, what is going to happen next? How are these two women going to deal with this? And yeah, also we do see a bit of Elliot, and just like the couple of things we see from him are also, I think, going to make you think about, okay, what might happen next for him. Okay, there isn't really that much more I can say in the spoiler-free part, so I'm going to jump into details for the episode now. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, turn the video off now. So like I just said, by the end of this episode, I was surprised that 45 minutes had passed, and I was like, oh, we haven't seen anything of Elliot in this episode. Like, we only see him for one scene, and he doesn't appear for the rest of the episode. And by the end, I sat there and was like, oh, he didn't actually appear in this at all, and I'm fine with that, which is good. So, like that's good, because I tend to be sometimes that kind of viewer that loses a bit of interest if his favourite person isn't on screen. But did not happen. Like I said, these two characters are interesting enough on their own, and we're going to talk about their whole relationship and what they do with Dom and Darlene in a few minutes. But first, I'd like to talk about the few minutes we actually do see Elliot and what they're kind of setting up for him in the next couple of episodes. So the only few things we see of Elliot is him in the motel room, sitting at his laptop, reading an article, and we realize that he's looking into the whole Washington Township project thing, which was related to, if you remember this, which was related to his father's death. So his father, if I remember this correctly, used to work for Evil Corp or something like that, and had to work on the whole Washington Township project or whatever that was, and the whole Washington Township incident, which was like a big horrific incident that happened in E Corp's history, caused Elliot's father to become sick and eventually die. So you can imagine this is like a big thing for Elliot. like it's been a big thing since the beginning of this show, since he's always been, I mean, despite of what we've recently learned, he was always very fond of his father, and his father being sick and eventually dying was something that had quite a big of an impact on Elliot. And especially since this is connected to Evil Corp, which also fuels Elliot's hatred of that corporation, very understandably. And it's going to be interesting as to see what Elliot wants to find out there. I'm guessing that he just wants to, like, he wants to know everything about what actually went down in that Washington Township incident, even though that we now know that his father wasn't the nicest man in the world, to put it mildly. But I guess he just wants to find out what really happened there, and I'm guessing that there's still gonna be sort of a big thing coming from this, because otherwise they wouldn't focus on this now. We'll also see if the Dark Army or anything like that is still connected. Dark Army gets mentioned a few times in the episode. So I'm guessing that they're still existing, they're still acting, and like they're still active. It's being mentioned by another character who we're also going to talk about in a while. That they are now focusing on other things and that they're going somewhere else and yeah, dealing with other stuff. So I don't know, maybe they will have something to do with that Washington Township incident again. So maybe the whole Dark Army stuff isn't over yet. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Elliot dives into the whole Washington Township stuff and is gonna get into some danger again, because we know that this was quite a horrific incident that Evil Corp, like, tried to, like, push down, tried to hide. Like, it's not a nice thing they want to talk about, obviously. So it's gonna be interesting as to see what Elliot is going to look in there and what will come from this. I'm guessing, like, he just wants answers. He's just looking for answers. He wants to know what really happened. Who were the people that were connected to this? Like, was it just like people at E Corp, like the management, or the Dark Army have stuff to do with it? I guess he just wants to find out what really happened, and I'm guessing there's gonna be quite a big reveal behind this, because otherwise they wouldn't focus on this now. I don't really have any guesses or theories as to what will come from this whole Washington Township thing, but yeah, like I said, it's probably gonna be a big and interesting thing since Elliot decides to stay behind and look into this. And we'll see if Darlene comes back and helps him. We'll see, since she is sort of staying in the United States after all. We will talk about it in a second. Since, I mean, it's also Darlene's father, and she will, and it also had something to do with Angela's family as well, so I'm guessing Darlene also might want to find out what happened. So maybe Elliot and Darlene are gonna work together again, we'll see, but yeah, that's definitely gonna be interesting, and I'm guessing that's also gonna be something quite personal again for Elliot, since it's linked to his past and also to his father especially. But let's move on to talk about our main characters in this episode, namely, I already mentioned it, Dom and Darlene. I like it that they decided to focus on these two characters. I mentioned it in earlier reviews that I do like their friendship and also, I guess, sort of relationship they have. I've always found it quite interesting what's going on between them, and it's been teased for quite a while that there might be more between them, and they're also playing around with this again in this episode. And yeah, I like that they are not only exploring this friendship, this relationship that these two women have, but they're also focusing on these two individually, and we see how they're still kind of opposed, like personally, morally, to what they're doing and what they're planning on doing, but how they're also kind of similar and still drawn to each other despite everything that has happened. And I just absolutely adore the writing for these characters, and this is why I like Mr. Robot so much, that they're not only able to make like these thrilling and exciting plot-heavy episodes about hacking, but that they are also able to do these like a bit more laid back, a bit more slower, like character-focused episodes that are still just as interesting. I think all of us call it that Dom wasn't dead. Like, I'm glad she isn't. Like, when the episode opened, I was like, okay, I'm glad that she's, at least physically speaking, okay. Psychologically speaking, no, just no. And we see that very much in this episode, how much of a toll this is taken on Dom, the whole stuff with the Dark Army and her family. And I'm always just glad to see her and be like, okay, she's still around, she's doing relatively okay. Like, I just want her to be safe. I want her to be okay. I want her to have a good ending when the show is over. Like, I just don't. I want Dom to be safe. Like, she deserves that. She deserves it. She's a good person, and she's done so much for her family. And when she's in, like, at the beginning of the episode, she's in the hospital, and she gets told by the other FBI guy that she can't see her family, and she's under investigation, she's under observation, she can't see her family because they don't trust her enough. Like, and we know how much her family means to her, and when she's told that people don't trust her, so she can't see her own family, like, that hurts. That shit hurts. I was like, come on, people. She's done so much. I think she deserves to see her family, or at least speak to them. Like, I understand that they're in the safe house and they need to be kept safe and anonymous and all that. But I mean, come on, cut her some slack. She just wants to see her family, and I want her to be able to do that. If she doesn't get to see her family again in this season, I'm gonna be angry. And what I like about her is that even though you think, okay, it's fine for now, like, they did the hack, the whole Dark Army business seems to be done for now, I like that you, with her, you still see that she's still very much conflicted about what's going on. And that you see what her priorities are. It's all about her family. She is not selfish in any way. It's never about herself. It's always about her family and the safety of her family. And like that, she's still, to a certain degree, a bit paranoid about that. She's like, no, I can't leave. I need to keep my family safe. And what they're doing with her, which I think is very smart, is that they're showing that you can't just switch so easily. Like, we know that for now they're probably safe, and that we should feel like, after this whole hacking thing, we should feel, oh, relief, and, you know, it's fine. And forget about all the dangers and stuff. And I like that with Dom, they're not doing that. They're showing that even though she also knows that things are okay for now, she is still constantly on edge because she wants the people she cares about to be safe. And I like that they're keeping up this anxiety with her. So she eventually decides to leave the hospital and goes back to her home, where again we see how anxious she still is. Like, she barricades the door and everything, and is very careful about what's going on. And Darlene decides to visit her. Like, I got very excited because I was like, oh yes, cool, they're putting them together again, which I like. I just like the whole relationship between them. Like, it's absolutely great, and the two actresses are fantastic. Not just together, but also individually, and we see this so well in this episode. So when Darlene and Dominic finally come back together again, like, in this conversation in Dom's flat, I think you can very well see how they're, like, still sort of opposed to each other. Like, Darlene is very sort of practical, you could say. She's like, okay, no, we have to lie low, you have to come with me, we have to do this, like, right now. Like, she always thinks about, okay, we have to do this and this and this right now in this moment to keep ourselves safe. And on the other side, we have Dom, who's all about her family. She's never thinking about herself. She's all about her family and wants to just stay there and deal with things. And I like how it doesn't necessarily take convincing, because you can see that Dom isn't fully convinced. You see this throughout the entire episode. Dom always has her doubts about almost everything that's going on around her and going on with Darlene. But I was nevertheless glad when we, at the end of this scene, we have the cut and we're at the motel and we can see Darlene getting out of the cab together with Dom. So we're like, okay, so that seems to be cool for now. They're leaving together. Darlene has the one scene with Elliot we get in this episode, and it's a very sweet scene. Darlene realizes, okay, Elliot doesn't want to leave yet. He has some stuff to deal with, and they have a very, very sweet conversation, and they hug, and I was like, oh, yes, it's just adorable. I just like when this kind of stuff happens between these two characters. They're very sweet together, and I like it when you can see that Elliot can be a very emotional and also a very vulnerable person. And, you know, my boy doesn't get hugged enough. And we all know that Elliot isn't like that big on hugs, so every time that a hug like this happens, I'm like, yes, this is sweet, this is pure, I love it. So I do hope that Darlene and Elliot, that this wasn't the last moment. I don't think it is, so yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna see them back together again, but you know, this was a very sweet and very nice goodbye for that moment. Meanwhile, Dom goes up into the motel room and sees Leon there, and is understandably surprised because she's like, you remember last time I saw you, we were in the barn together, I was about to die, and then you shot all the Dark Army guys? And he's like, oh yeah, that happened. And, you know, they have some funny but slightly weird banter, and you're basically Dom in that moment because you're like, oh my god, this was so weird last time we saw each other, what's going on? I don't know, I just thought it was kind of funny, and I like that we see Leon for a couple of minutes in this episode. He's a very enjoyable character to watch on screen. So throughout the episode we have some very sweet moments, very interesting moments, mainly obviously between Darlene and Dom. There is a very cool scene when they're sitting in a park, like they're taking a bit of a break, they're sitting in a park, they're having a conversation about what they want to do next or what has been going on. And again, you can see how Dom is still like very much stuck in her duty as an FBI agent and very much about, you know, abiding the law and everything, because immediately as Darlene starts talking about what she's been doing and, you know, redistribution of wealth and all that, Dom is like, oh my god, what are you doing? Are you doing something illegal again? You can't do this, blah 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 blah. I just like that because it shows that change doesn't just happen like that. I like that. That it happens gradually, especially throughout this episode. And Darlene talks a bit about what they did with the hack, and she redistributes all the money they've stolen from the Deus group in a very cool moment. So they're sitting in the park, and Darlene just like does some stuff on her phone and says like, give it a couple seconds, and it takes quite a while until something happens, and Dom gets a bit nervous about what happens, a bit anxious, and in a very sweet moment, like I loved it, Darlene calms her down, kisses her, and is like, just give it a minute, it's gonna be cool. And I was like, yes, they kissed, good moment, yes. Because once again it was this tease like, oh, is it gonna be like a proper romantic relationship maybe at some point? Like, I would like that to happen because they're very sweet together. So yeah, I like that we got this little moment in this episode. And yeah, so they give it a minute, and soon enough people start getting out their phones and making very happy, though slightly confused faces at their phones, and we realize, oh, all of them have received, let's say, a good amount of money from this redistribution of wealth. And so Darlene has given everyone the money back, and even though Dom is like, oh my god, you can't do this, like this is illegal, this is stealing, but Darlene turns it around in a very nice way. It's like, we basically Robin Hooded these people, like it's brilliant. And I like that you with Dom, even though you can see that she has doubts about this, you can also see how she's slowly kind of coming around to this whole idea, what Darlene is trying to tell her, or at least for Darlene, she's trying to be happy because she likes her, and she's like, okay, you know, it makes her happy, so it kind of also makes me happy to see her like this. And Darlene starts wooing while they're sitting on this bank with the people around, and Dom is like, stop doing that, everyone's looking at us. But it's a very sweet scene because everyone around them is so happy, and everyone kind of just starts smiling and laughing together, and you're like, yes, this is what Darlene and Elliot have been working towards for such a long time, and then Darlene gets to do this, and you see how happy everyone becomes, and you realize, okay, this is it. Because Darlene, as she also explains, they can't rework this because, I don't know, for some weird technological, economic money reason, like they can't retake the money, or they can't change it. So everyone gets the ecoin money and they get to keep it. Like, it doesn't change. And you're like, yes, they can't reverse it, so everything is good. The rest of the episode takes us to the airport. So Leon leaves, he heads them out at the airport, and they spend some time there, and we see Dom just walking around a bit in the shops, and a very unexpected, I have to admit, a very unexpected encounter happens. She looks at one of the books that's being sold, and suddenly the author turns up and addresses her by her proper name. He says Dom, and you can see the shock in Dom's face. She's like, oh shit, somebody recognized me. And then it's the freaking guy from the last season, Irving. Like, the guy with the glasses, who basically looks like he stepped out of the 70s, and you realize, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Because, you know, last time we saw this guy killed Dom's colleague with a freaking axe, which was cool, but also, you know, brutal. Like, the guy wasn't quite normal in the head, and is still working for the Dark Army, so understandably we have the same reaction as Dom. We're like, oh shit, no, move back, what do you want, what do you want? And Dom, like, immediately goes into overdrive, super anxiety, like, everything, and of course we think, oh no, like, they got busted, like, everything's over, like, the Dark Army's onto them, whatever, and they have this very, almost, I don't want to say frightening, but, you know, on edge conversation. And even though Irving tells her, oh, you know, it's fine, I'm just selling my book, I'm on a bit of a tour, and Dom's like, well, what about the Dark Army, and you kill people? And he's like, oh yeah, that's fine. And, you know, the Dark Army isn't after you at the moment, it's cool, your family's fine. And you're like, what? Like, really? Like, you know, Dom seems like she buys it, and also Darlene seems to believe her when she gets told about this later. But I was like, really? Just like that? Everything's fine for now. Like, Dark Army's like, oh no, we're not following you anymore. It's fine. Sure, Irving killed a bunch of people, but you know, it was all in good fun, basically. The Dark Army isn't interested in you and your family anymore. It's fine, you just skedoodle off and do whatever you want, basically. And you're like, are you for real? At least that's what I thought. I was like, I don't believe you. I was like, maybe for now, but come on. There's still a couple of episodes left, and this is the Dark Army. Not everything's gonna be fine just like that. Also, they just threw Irving in there. I'm like, this was the creepiest, weirdest guy in the last season. You can't just throw him in there and us be like, oh yeah, no, I'm totally believing everything this guy says. No, just no. Also, just the moment this guy is on screen, I'm immediately unsettled. He's like, he's the predecessor of Weird Taxidermy Lady, and now Taxidermy Lady is dead, and her predecessor comes back to take her space. He's even like, oh yeah, no, she was annoying, you know, it's all fine. And now I'm here again, and I'm like, oh no, you're creepy, I don't want to see you on screen. I wonder if he's only there for like this one sort of cameo in this episode to like have us be like unsettled for a moment. But who knows, maybe we'll see him again. I mean, I wouldn't mind. He's good for this kind of, like I said, he's like Weird Taxidermy Lady. He's good for having this kind of character that always creeps you out a bit just by being there. And we'll see. For now, it seems like he told Dom the truth. Let's hope he did. I still think he didn't. Not really. But, you know, it was a very interesting, despite weird conversation. So Dom makes her way back to meet Darlene and tells about the news she's gotten, that basically the Dark Army doesn't seem to be following them anymore, and that gives her basically the reason to say, you know, I don't have to run away with you because I guess I'm safe, my family's safe, and I don't have to run away, I don't have to lie low, I can stay here. So she basically, her doubts like overcome her, and she's like, I can't do this. I can't run away with you. And very understandably, Darlene freaks out, and I was in the same situation. I was like, no, I want you to stay together. I want you to run away together. Like, Darlene even has very good reasons. She's like, yeah, sure, maybe we can stay here, but why not just, you know, sort of take a break and run off together? I'm like, yes, good idea. Get together, run off to somewhere. Just take a break, be happy together. Why not just do that? And you can see how afraid Darlene is of being on her own, which makes her very similar to Elliot. Like just like him, she's very much afraid of being lonely, of not having anyone there she cares about. And you could see how hurt she was by this, and this whole conversation with them at like the bar or whatever that was just gut-wrenching, because I was like, no, I thought you two were gonna leave, and I want you to stay together, but, you know, they both have very good reasons for wanting to do what they want to do, and, you know, it just hurt, because I was like, you two like each other, you two want to stay together, why not just do it? God damn it, why not just do it? And they both basically give each other their very good reasons for not doing the thing, or doing the thing, and they separate, I guess, and we see Darlene walking back into the airport to get her flight, and Dom starting to leave the airport, and so a very nice fitting song starts playing. I don't know the song, but I thought, like, while I heard the lyrics, I was like, yeah, goes well with the scene. It hurts. And I like that, even though it's a bit, it doesn't really fully go into the cliche of, you know, having the last big reveal or romantic gesture at the airport, even though it kind of tries to do that for a second. Like, we have both of them apart, sitting or walking away, and while the song plays, they both sort of have this train of thought, and they both seem to kind of slowly switch in their opinions, because we see Darlene not really wanting to get up and get on a flight, and we see Dom near the exit looking at the sign that says exit, and you can't re-enter, and then we suddenly see Dom hurrying back into the airport, and you think, yes, cool, she's finally gonna do it anyway. But then we see Darlene wanting, like, to hand in her ticket to take the flight, but she hesitates and, like, runs away. And you think, oh, for a second I thought, oh yeah, now they're gonna meet in the middle of the airport and decide what they want to do together, you know, like in the romantic cliche. But just like in the last second, they subvert that idea, and you see Darlene running off into the bathroom, and in the same second she walks into the bathroom, Dom comes in and hands in her ticket to take the flight. And you think, no! You bloody idiot! How? Come on! Just like, why? Why are you doing this to me? I just wanted the two of them to be happy together and take a flight to Budapest and spend the holidays together. Well, obviously no, that does not happen, because Mr. Robot never does anything happy. Like, they never do anything that makes me go, yes, this is exactly what I want to happen and this makes me happy. So, yeah. Darlene runs into the bathroom having a panic attack, very obvious panic attack, also very understandably, and she's completely freaking out, and at the same time Dom gets on the plane. She gets on the plane, and we can see her being a bit confused, because she's like, oh, the seat next to me is empty. Why the fuck is the seat next to me empty? It shouldn't be empty. And we can even see her wanting to kind of run off or do something about it, but she sits back down again. And basically, what this episode does at the ending is sort of not just showing us how they both switch in their opinions of what they want to do, but it also shows us how satisfied or dissatisfied both of them are with their decisions, because we have Darlene in the bathroom, like sort of freaking out, and we have a lady there who sees her, and she's like, "Is it okay? Can I do anything for you? Is this your flight?" And she's like, "This is my flight, but I'm not gonna take it." And she looks into the mirror. Darlene looks at herself and is like, "It's okay, it's fine." And when she says that, I didn't believe her, because she still looks quite anxious and sad and worried about what just happened and what she's emotionally going through at this moment. So I was like, I don't think she's telling the truth. Like she says to herself, "It's okay, I can deal with this on my own. Like, I'm fine on my own." And I was like, yeah, this might have been what Dom told you could be able to do, but when Darlene says in that moment, I was like, is it fine though? Is it? And on the other hand, we have Dom. We see, well, the last thing we see of her is on the plane, seemingly okay, just with a book in her hand and sleeping as the plane takes off. And you think, oh, so she just fell asleep. Because I thought in that second, oh, so she at least quicker came to the realization, okay, Darlene's not gonna come, I guess I'm gonna do this anyway, and fall asleep now, and she finally gets her good night's sleep. And I don't know, at least to me, this seemed like very opposite realizations of what both of them wanted at the beginning of this episode. So Darlene is like very dissatisfied with what's happening. She's very obviously worried, and I did not believe her when she said this is okay. And on the other hand, you have Dom suddenly being like, okay, this is not what she wanted to do, but she seems to be okay with what is happening. So it's going to be interesting to see what's actually going to happen now, especially if we're going to see Dom again in the next couple of episodes. And since she's now going to Budapest, like, we'll see if she just goes on holidays for a couple of days and maybe comes back in towards the end of the season, or if that's it for Dom at this point. And as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be interesting as to see if Darlene goes back to Elliot and helps him working on the whole Washington Township thing. Would definitely be quite interesting. And you know, I'm not really happy about the fact that they didn't stick with the whole Darlene and Dom thing, them together, because I'm guessing they're not just gonna be like in the next episode, oh, Darlene is just gonna take the next plane to Budapest, or something like that. That's probably not gonna happen. So they're separated for now, at least, which is sad, because like I said, I like them together, and I still kind of hope that at the end of the show that they might be in a relationship, because I want both of them to be happy, especially with each other. And, you know, I just want the best for them. And Dom seems to be sort of okay by the end of this episode. I just hope that Darlene is fine, because she has like this full-on panic attack, and I felt that. It was very, very well acted. And I just hope she's going to be fine. Maybe they're gonna have a conversation in the next episode over the phone or whatever, because I would think that both of them were like, weren't you supposed to be on the plane? Weren't you supposed to be somewhere else? Haha, confusion. Who knows? Maybe they'll at least talk again. I hope that happens. But for now, it seems like they will not see each other again. So yeah, that's the end to a slightly unusual but very interesting episode. We did not see a lot of Elliot, but we had a lot of interesting interactions between two very interesting ladies, and I do hope that this was not the last we have seen of Dom, and I do hope that we will still see the two of them together towards the end of this season. For now, I'm hoping, like I said, that Darlene will maybe get back into contact with Elliot again, and I'm guessing that the next couple of episodes are going to purely focus on Elliot trying to find out what this whole Washington Township project was, and maybe that's also going to be connected to the other personality, who knows, because I'm guessing that Mr. Robot has something to do with it as well, since he represents his father, and this, I guess the whole past that has to do with his father is not done yet, because it has to do with the Washington Township program. And we'll see what Elliot finds out. I'm a bit frightened because, you know, it has to do with his past, but it's also going to be interesting because this is something we don't really know too much about, and we'll see if that is also what the Dark Army will be focusing on. Who knows? And yeah, I'm going into next week's episode with a lot of excitement, but also again, so many worries for the characters. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this week's episode. What are your thoughts? Put something down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what did you think of like the two leading ladies in this week's episode. What do you think will happen with what Elliot is going to do? So what do you think is going to be the story in the upcoming episodes? Tell me all the thoughts down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this little review. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done it already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.